All right, so second day of factoring. Same process. What's in common? Figure out the signs for your answer. And then what type of factoring? So today, I think is the easiest kind of factoring because it sticks out. It looks different, the problems themselves. And this is a factoring called difference of squares. Difference means subtraction, so it's going to have to, the problems have to be subtraction. But they look like that. There's two terms. Yesterday, everything was three terms. Tomorrow, everything's going to be three terms. The next day, everything's going to be three terms. Difference of squares is the only one that has two. And essentially, you just, so the last term is negative, so I'm going to have a negative and a positive. Okay, and then I'm just going to do the square root of 9, which is 3. Okay, it's always the square root. X minus 5, x plus 5. Okay, it's always the square root. So I could have, so it's a little bit different because we have that number in the front. So I'm still going to have my minus and plus. And I'm still going to have my x's there because I need that to get x squared. Then you do, what's the square root of 4? 2. What's the square root of 49? 7. Okay. So you could have, let's see. Okay, so still, like, what's in common? Oh, both of those I can divide by 2. And then I'm just going to put plus first, but remember we got to put the smallest number in the first parentheses. Why did I put 5? 4. So square root of 16 is 4. Okay, so I said, just like yesterday, the smallest number in the parentheses on the left. So you might say, like on a problem like this top one, well, like there's numbers in both like spots. Well, the numbers in the first spots will be identical no matter what because you're doing the square root. The number in the second spot, they'll both be 7 or both be 4 or both be 5 or 3 or whatever. But one will be negative, one will be positive. So put the negative one on the first parentheses. Okay. So be careful. So this last, one, the one that I circled, 2 and 7, that's fine because they don't have anything in common. This bottom right-hand one isn't too bad of a trick problem because there's no square root of 2 and there's no square root of 32. So that means you got to take something out. I'm not going to give you a problem that you can't do the square root on. Okay, so that's a little bit easier because it does kind of lead you to, oh, there's something in common. Otherwise, the problem's impossible. Okay, so there's a couple like kind of tricky ones that can come up. And so you look at that one, and the most common mistake is you kind of go, oh, well, I have one negative and one positive, and I put my x's in there, and the square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 64 is 8. And you go, oh, hey, that's the answer. And there's nothing wrong with what I wrote down. It actually does, work. if I multiply it back out. But it's not all the way correct because we didn't take out what's in common. If both numbers are even, there's at least a 2 in common, and there could be even like more than that. So if you look at, like you never want to see in your answer a 2 and an 8. Well, I can divide both of those by 2. So you never in your answer want to have two numbers, and you can also like divide by something. But 2 and 8 do have something in common. So it's not one that like kind of stands out as in terms of like, oh, what number can you divide with 4 and 64? You always want the biggest one. But you can divide that by 4. And then you get x minus 4, x plus 4. And so if you don't recognize that at the beginning, and you wrote 2x minus 8 and 2x plus 8, and then you went, oh, I'm not supposed to have anything in common. Well, in this first one, that means like I could take a 2 out, and then 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 8 divided by 2 is 4. I could take a 2 out of that one also. And then 2 times 2 is 4, and then the x plus or minus 4 and x plus 4. So there's a couple tricky ones like that where the numbers both have a square root, but they also have something in common. So make sure that you account for that. So, on one, that are a little bit easier, you look at that one and go, oh, 5 and 20, like, I can't do the square root of either of those, but I can take a 5 out. 5 divided by 5 is 1, 20 divided by 5 is 4, and then I'd have x minus 2 and x plus 2. Okay, so difference of squares, I think, is, in my opinion anyway, by far the easiest type of factoring because it's the same thing every time. Square root, square root, square root, square root. You just got to like take into account like what's in common. Okay, so just 10 problems today. There might be like half of them that you take something out. I could be wrong, but it's not going to be all of them. But you'll have some simple ones where there's no number in the front, and some that are technically harder because there's a number in the front, even though you can just do the square root on some of them. Okay? All right, so 2 types of factoring down. We'll get another one tomorrow. The one tomorrow is not too bad either. So, okay, have a great day, guys. We'll see you later.